used in some sort of ritual context. So there is a slight suggestion here of the probability, if not the possibility, if not the probability, of some sort of ritual action, probably associated with the meat or food that is to be eaten. We come now to Homo sapiens. This is the first order of Homo sapiens, Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, Neanderthal man. He used to be the one that was called the ape man, but we find that his brain capacity in some cases is over 1,600 cubic centimeters. And the brain capacity average today is less than 1,600 cubic centimeters. So we've got to pay our respect to this chap. It was a tremendously powerful figure that emerged and took the land just south of the great glaciers of the Virum glaciation, the last glaciation, appearing somewhere around 200,000 BC and surviving until about 40,000 BC. That's a long, long season. And I want to stress him. This is Homo sapiens. The brain has come to a certain size, and there is a transformation of consciousness, and it's at this period that the first infallible signs of mythological thinking appear. And they appear in two aspects. And the first is this of burials. What we see in this is a burial from about 60,000 BC from Mount Carmel in what's now Palestine. And this form here is the jawbone of a boar. In other words, a sacrificial offering has been associated with the burial. The burial is in the crouched position of the fetus, returned to the womb. This is the first experience of mystery beyond that of the magic of divine superfluous beauty. This character was our friend, walking around, warm, talking. He lies down, something departs, it's cold, stiff, and begins then to decay. What has left him? The notion that what has left is still alive is what we experience here. Burial with grave gear. It's in this period of Neanderthal man that the first burials appear. Some remarkable burials have recently been found in northern Iran and Iraq, in that area there, of Neanderthal men from about 60,000 BC. And there's one in a site called Shanidar, where a male, powerful male, was buried with flowers on top of him. The pollens remain and have been identified, most of them of medicinal plants. It may have been a shaman of some kind. But beyond that, beneath him were the bones of two women and a child. Do we have a sati burial here already? This is, we don't know. Date about 60,000 BC. So, the human spirit lives on beyond the wall of time that we know, and one relates to it. Here is one of Jane Goodall's apes, whose tiny little thing here has died of the polio. There was a polio plague that struck the little community. And this poor woman had no idea what had happened here, and just walked around for days holding this little thing in its hand until it began to stink. Then she takes it over her shoulder, walks off into the forest, and comes back without it. Something has happened. There's no conscious relationship to it. There's no way to handle it, turn it into something significant. That is the opposite to the human experience system. Now we go back to Neanderthal times. I said there were two signs of the beginning of mythological experience and thinking. First was human burial. The second is worship of cave bear skulls. In the high Alps of Switzerland and Silesia, there have been found half a dozen small cave chapels in which there are cave bear skull caches, hiding places where cave bear skulls have been kept. Some of them have rings of stone around them. Other ones, like this one, has the long bone of the bear in the bear's mouth, as though the bear were eating its own flesh. Others have the long bones poked through the eyes, fear of the evil eye, apparently. But just as the human being who has died is still there, so is the animal who has been killed still there, and we have to take care of revenge, malice, and so forth. Now, the typical system of belief among hunting people who are killing and eating animals all the time and do not feel, as we do, that the animal is a lower form of life. The animal is an equivalent form in another aspect and is revered, is respected, and yet killed. The basic mythic theme of hunting cultures is the animal is a willing sacrifice, comes willingly to be killed. You can find this in the myths all over the place, but comes with the understanding that will be killed with gratitude, that a ceremonial will be conducted to return its life to the mother source for rebirth, so that it will come again next year. And then there is the idea of a specific animal that is the, you might say, alpha animal, to whom the prayers and worship are addressed that are to concern the entire animal community, as though there were a covenant between the animal and the human communities, honoring the mystery of nature, which is life lives by killing. No other way. And it is the one life in two manifestations that is living this way, by killing and eating itself. And so perhaps already in this figure of the cave bear skull consuming its own flesh, we have that image of what life is. This, I think, is the prime image. Now, we don't kill the animals we eat. We have butchers who do that. And the food comes all nicely packed, particularly in the shopping centers, and you see people throwing this one around that, oh, I'll take this and put. It's a different attitude. These people thank the animal for having given itself. We thank our notion of divinity for having given us this meal. It's a totally different psychology, a totally different mythology. The prime one is this, of life in its various manifestations consuming itself. Now in Japan, in northern Japan, in Hokkaido, there remain a race of people that are Caucasoid, not Mongoloid, and these are known as the Ainu, A-I-N-U. And their principal cult is a bear cult. And here we have an Ainu shrine, and there is a bear skull. This is today. This is 40 to 60,000 years later than the forms that I've been showing you. The conservatism of primitive man is basic. To change a form, even of a tool, is to lose its power. And so you have here a cult from 60,000 BC, still in northern Japan among the Ainu people. There is a sanctuary of black bear skulls of the Ainu, the counterpart of the caves that I showed you from 60,000 years ago. Now this idea, the animal master, is basic. The covenant of the animals, the notion of the physical as being secondary to the spiritual life energy, a ritual of thanks and of returning the energy to its source for another visit.